Thank you very much for having me.
So we're supposed to have a discussion with you on the minister's press conference today, but before then, I just wanted your comment on what happened at the Ramsey site yesterday. I mean, MPs are supposed to have their official bungalows at Sakumon. I don't know if that's still the case. I don't know if that's where you are living, but seeing what happened there yesterday, what's your view?
First and foremost, a very good evening to you and your cherished listeners. Currently, MPs do not have official accommodation. You rent your own property as to where you'd want to live in the next 4 years of your term, as in your term as in Parliament. It used to be the case, I think, either in the first and second Parliament, but those properties that were supposed to have been residential accommodations for MPs are no more. So currently, we rent our own accommodation.
Okay.
But however, in terms of what happened at Ramsey site, you see, Ramsey site for me, these areas have always been areas that are supposed to be protected. Protected in the sense that they form the basis of protection for certain species, not only animals, even for plants. And secondly, also, these sites are also meant as areas that would help in consolidating drain restoration of rains. Because these are very wet lands, and these are areas that would help accommodate rain, fight the rain in terms of flash protest, then be able to avert flooding. If these areas are not protected and they are left to indiscriminate development and the rest, it contributes towards one, the extension of some of these plants and animals that are endangered, and secondly also it contributes to overflooding in area. But however, some of these activities of demolition and the rest, it has even exceeds the boundaries of where it's supposed to be. And I believe that the Greater Accra Regional Minister, in collaboration with the Town and Country Planning, and also the Forestry Commission, which has oversight responsibility of all of these areas, ought to sit down and have properly coordinated approach at trying to resolve some of these indiscriminate development at around their site.
Is it the case that you have been told, or you suspect that they may have gone beyond their boundaries in the demolition yesterday, for instance?
I've been following the total demolition exercise for over 3 months now. I mean, it wasn't only yesterday that demolition went on at Ramsey site. And the level and the expanse of where some of these things are being done in general and in totality ought to be re-looked and returned. Because you see, I listened to one of the chiefs yesterday who presumably, and I'm saying this on caution and advice, who tends to create the impression or said that there are no more lands in Accra and the total area is congested. That there is the need for us to rethink some of these areas. I mean, there are ways that we can build within these areas and properly coordinate the flow of water and the protection of those areas, which under no circumstances ought to be underestimated. All that I am saying is that there should be a properly coordinated approach at doing this, because this is not the first time demolition has occurred at Ramsey site. What occurs again? You still have people going back there to develop. It is not the first time that we've seen demolition there. So what is causing the continuous revisiting of these areas and same areas for demolition? We have to have a proper look at it, make the Town and Country Planning, have a proper scheme developed for these areas, so that the portions of say in terms of modern developmental approach in spatial planning can be applied to those areas, such that we'll probably be able to coordinate those areas, put proper infrastructure in place, we'll put proper protection in place. That would be, because we don't wait for people to build, because these buildings don't come up in a day or a week. So you wait for the person to build story buildings, move them, flow them, then in the course of one day, we demolish all of these things. I mean, we have to also be revisiting that. That is not to say that if crime happens, it has no expiry date. We cannot go back and revisit some of these things. But it also becomes a bane and ends up with people losing almost the entirety of what they've done in their lives. And I think that is also not fair. Because if you, the protector, also omit to act, and you don't act, and somebody ends up spending his entirety of fortune over there, and you end up one day and go and demolish all of these things under some of these circumstances, I think we have to revisit some of these things and think properly about it.
The psychological effect on the people who own those properties, of course, we cannot even assess, and of course they'll be devastated. But again, the view may be that, well, they engage in a criminality, so there should be no sympathy for them. Based on what you have just said, which essentially is to say that let's consider the demolitions, would you say the people who sold the land first of all to these people who bought the place and developed should be prosecuted, and again the state officials who acquiesced or stood aloof and watched for people to put up these structures to the level that they put them up to, they should possibly be prosecuted too? Would you agree with that school of thought?
I will, because you see, they are complicit in it. That's why I said that when those who ought to have acted failed and negligently did not act, and left these places for people to continuously develop to the level that they developed, you can't obviously go back, presumably, to be punishing them, although they may have committed a crime as well they ought not to have gone. And secondly, the individuals who sold those areas to them under the pretext of them being owners of those areas, these people believed in their representation and also went ahead. Officials who ought to have protected these areas. You rightly put it about the psychological trauma these individuals will go through. Imagine you have your kids, you live there, and some of these buildings are occupied. They end up in school, coming home, they are being called by their parents, you are going to pick you up. Again, what has happened? Oh, they've broken down and demolished where you live, and even on the kids, and even on the adults. What are we trying to do? I think we ought to revisit these things, have a sober reflection, put proper planning in place, and make sure that whatever needs to be done is done to contain some of these things. We are not to leave the razzia side for them to be overly exploited or haphazardly developed. But however, if we are not going to allow them to develop, we ought to put proper measures in place so that they don't even have the opportunity of demolishing for us to go and developing for us to go and demolish. I think it's unfair.
Okay, let's talk about your colleague MP and Minister for Lands. Today he did a press conference to account to Ghanaians a number of successes. Over 125 excavators have been seized, he says. He's talked about the reclamation of land, where he says all the red zone areas have been reclaimed according to the Forestry Commission. And he also makes a comment on the dealings between Azuma Resources and engineers and planners. I want to talk to you about the fight against illegal mining. He says it's a long haul, but they appear to be doing a great job at it. What's your assessment?
First and foremost, if we are talking about illegal mining and the approach and whatever is being done by the current lands minister, with all apologies, it's words. And I will tell you why it is words. You see, there's silence now, not even the condemnation of it is worrying, and that will be the second approach. However, currently as I speak with you, I will give you areas for you to go and have a look at those areas. Virgin forests that have never been entered into are being mined as I speak now. Places that the Green Ghana initiative 4 years ago started reforestation and afforestation, planted trees, and some of these trees have grown, are being excavated. And I can give you go to the Tanwafe shelter bed and you go to Gemara, go to Nkayo, go to Achuman Ponia, on Partner 48 and the rest. All of those areas, about 42 kilometers square of land that have been planted just about 4 years ago, have all been excavated in the name of mining, illegal mining. And the sad part of it is that we don't want to tell ourselves the truth, but we always want to pat ourselves on the shoulder. And that is giving rise to the high rate at which you are having it. And the difficulty for even the minister himself to be able to fight illegal mining. Because if you come to tell us that you are fighting illegal mining, and it is that you've drawn a line in the sand, and that nobody is going to cross that. But we end up having an appointee within the government managing a fund, go out there saying that she is also fighting illegal mining under the pretext that she's so clean that the ministry has become so weak that if she doesn't write from a mineral development fund to go and fight illegal mining, the ministry cannot fight illegal mining. It tells you the level at which failure are setting in the fight against illegal mining in the current administration. You see, it is sad. You go to areas, and I'll give you a classical example. Go to Swama. It is reportedly and verified to be seen to be true that even machines that were officially bought under the district road improvement program DRIP that is meant for the rehabilitation of our roads are now being used under the supervision of officials for illegal activities and mining.
That's a serious allegation you're making. Any pictorial evidence or video evidence to support this claim?
If you want to, it is about, and I'll forward some to your producer. All of these things I talk about, I have pictures, I have videos of them.
Which means you can then tell me which government official engaged in which illegal activity where with the excavator.
I said go to Swaman. And that it is widely reported under the supervision of the district chief executive himself.
So the district chief executive, I'm not sure that Swaman is a constituency. I don't know whether it's also a district.
Yes, it is also a district.
Western North.
The challenge we have now is that when some of these things, when some of these infractions or some of these things that are perpetuating illegal mining are being said, we try to cool the person who is making these claims for us to be able to fight it. But you don't know. Can you street proof? I'm telling you, it is not a matter about street proof, and I'm not going to concoct any stories for you. Because only as we speak, the rate at which illegal mining is taking over and the effect of which we are suffering now is much more disastrous, and it is at an existential threat. The increase even in illness such as gallbladder diseases are becoming astronomical in our country currently, and you can add the health professionals and what has brought about all of those things.
Have you considered reporting to the police to tell the police that the district chief executive for Swaman is using drip machines for an illegality?
The police cannot tell us they are not aware of these machines.
Actually, they may not be aware. You, as a citizen, you are duty bound to report the crime.
And currently, the desire of some of these things, the civil society that in just the past, about 7 months, 8 months ago, 9 months ago, were at the forefront of championing the fight against illegal mining, remain quiet. It is surprising. That is why you call an act that should we be reporting under the era of clearing people. We ought to put this out there for people like you to go out there, verify, and put saying that to be true or otherwise. Because at the end of the day, if I say I report, you don't go and verify and make these claims as true, verifiable to be true or false, it ends up on the table, and anybody at all will just shy away from it, because you see, there will not be enough pressure on the prosecution of all of these individuals. And why aren't we in this country? When we are being told by the interior minister that they are not interested in even prosecuting foreigners who engage in illegal mining, but we send them away. Why aren't we in this country?
The same country we're in when you deported Aisha Wan and the president and the senior minister.
You see, this is the challenge of us not being able to fight it when you go the way you are going. We're in this country when we deported Aisha Wan. What was your response to that?
We said it was bad and you defended it.
You criticized it. You said it was a bad approach at us doing that.
And you defended it.
And now we come in. That was one person, but not a policy. Now you come in, you have a government official who is the minister, telling us government position and the ministerial position, and you are referring to the past. Are you trying to help us fight illegal mining? No. If you continuously refer to the past, yes, there was illegal mining going on in the past. Weren't we in this country? When people used to come make press conferences, even a government assurance committee, Honorable Kujato, who is now the foreign affairs minister, brought water from our river bodies to show to the Ghanaian populace how our water bodies have been contaminated. So assuming that I'm talking about it and you then ask me, weren't we in this country when water was polluted? Are you trying to help us to fight illegal mining in this country? Then there's no need for us to comment about it now if you are going to make reference to the past, which was wrong, if indeed it was. So you don't make that argument with me when you want to tell me that it happened yesterday, so today it's well. And you criticize this yesterday, and you don't want to use it to criticize it today, but you are using the past to justify today to be right. I think that is not right.
Very well.
The fact of the matter that is that it has increased. Forest that we have not even mined before is being mined illegally. Places that we planted trees to rear forest, deforested areas are all being excavated in the name of illegal mining, complemented by the implementation of gold board. Let me tell you, now we say gold is sustaining our country, and that small-scale mining and artisanal mining has taken over a large-scale mining in terms of gold export. Where is it coming from? Where is that gold coming from? That artisanal mining. Most of it isn't just illegal mining. You and I know.
Which means that the gold for oil that your government was implementing also came through illegal mining?
You see the problem you go there again.
No, I'm just giving a historical perspective to guide the analysis.
Historical perspective. Are you willing for us to fight it?
No,
we never came to tell you. We never came to tell you under the implementation for gold for oil and gold for reserves that local and artisanal mining has taken over our large scale mines. We never told you that.
But we saw that.
You saw it was never the case.
We saw lots of illegal mining.
You see, assuming that was even the fact and you are retreating that, you are justifying the wrongs of today. So why do you even get concerned about it happening and want people to talk about it?
Okay.
This sort of level of argument and approach at having discussions about illegal mining is wrong, and you must differ from that. Let us be candid to ourselves. You criticize it in the past, don't use that to justify the wrong of today.
Thank you. Lesson learned. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you very much.
That's a former Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources in the Akufo-Addo government.